Rather well indeed with the number one, and you had a few more top 10 singles to follow that, and then came another worldwide smash, and the massive song that I'm Not in Love. And
Yep.
again, you talked earlier about not doing the same thing twice because this song was very different to what had followed before, well, what had come beforehand.
That was a weird one because we were on to our, I think it was our second album, the original soundtrack, and we recorded I'm Not in Love once, and we didn't actually do it very well. We recorded it as a kind of a bossa nova lounge thing,
Okay.
and didn't sound great. So we knew it was a good song, but we didn't think we'd nailed it. So we put it to one side and continued progressing through the album with a view to coming back to it, which we did. And so we all sat around and it was like, well, we got this great song, how are we going to do it? And I think I said, well, just probably out of desperation, why don't we do it all with voices? And everyone went, yeah, all right. And then we talked it through and figured out a possible way of doing it using tape loops. And of course, doing that using tape loops took forever to do, which meant that we could think about what else to do if this didn't work while we were doing it. But of course, it did work. And it was one of those magical set of sessions that every time we added something, it got better and more unique. And so we never actually got back to the starting point again. We just were lucky enough to follow it through to some kind of conclusion.
And did you get to a conclusion, or was there a point where you said we need to rein this back in again? Did you keep adding too much, or how did it go?
Oh no, as I said, it was magical. It was like there was, once we got part the way through it and we began to understand that what we were doing was beginning to work.
Yep.
It was a matter of making it work as well as it could. But it was quite a complicated way of doing things. We essentially turned the mixing console into a mellotron, I suppose, but instead of having keys, we were using faders to bring up the loops. So it was a bit crazy. But
Bit crazy.
yeah, and the original vocal was the guide vocal that Eric did to start it all off before we began the process of creating the vocal loops. So it was an extraordinary thing. That happens rarely when you start a bunch of sessions not knowing what you're going to end up with. What usually happens is that works, that doesn't. Try something else for that. Oh, go back 2 steps. Let's do this, substitute this for that. But that wasn't the case. It was everything we added down to the last overdub. And then we mixed it and we listened back and we thought, fuck, I haven't heard anything quite like that before. But we knew there was something special about it. It was quite long. I think it was about 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we felt we got something special and we wanted to release it as a single, but the label was anxious about releasing anything of 6 minutes and released Life as a Minestrone instead. Meanwhile, Queen released Bohemian Rhapsody and stayed at #1 for 15 years. So, lesson learned.
Indeed. And in terms of the song, I mean, it was a huge hit for you in America as well. It kind of broke that market over there. And how was that then? Because at that point, that was your first real success, wasn't it, over there?
I think we tickled people's interest over there before, but that was massive. It really was. I mean, it's still knocking around now. It was in Guardians of the Galaxy a couple of years ago.
That was going to be another question of mine, because I've got a 9-year-old who loves the song because of Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, how does that feel when it keeps coming around like that in popular culture?
I love it. I just wish I'd written it. It's
Well,
great. I mean, it's lovely when that happens, because it means that the work has a little bit of weight behind it. It's not just another passing fad. There's something going on there that touches the generations across the board. So it's a good feeling.